This video is about Garry Tonon. Today we are unpacking the totally chaotic but absolutely brilliant rise of Garry Tonon in the world of pure jiu-jitsu. If you follow submission grappling at all, you definitely know the name. But his journey from an intensely hyperactive kid to becoming a cornerstone of the legendary Danaher Death Squad, well, it's taking what people think are weaknesses and turning them into superpowers. When you actually watch how Garry Tonon moves on the mats today, it's wild to think about his childhood beginnings. We aren't talking about a kid who was groomed in some pristine martial arts academy from the age of 4. Nope. We are talking about a highly active kid growing up near the Jersey Shore. Garry was diagnosed with ADHD as a child, and man, he just had an uncontainable amount of pent-up energy. Luckily, his mom was a recreation specialist for a nonprofit special needs organization. She knew exactly how to channel that hyperactive drive. Instead of keeping him away from physical sports, she actively pushed him into them. Gymnastics, track, cross country, pole vaulting, and especially school wrestling, which he started in the 5th grade. Wrestling stuck with him, but right around age 14, a buddy told him about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. His friend described it as being like wrestling, except you get to strangle people. Garry was immediately hooked by the cognitive puzzle of it all. He started training, found his first major mentor in DeBlass in his mid-teens, and committed himself to the sport. Before long, Garry was balancing his BJJ career with an exercise science degree at Rutgers University. Because he couldn't make it back to DeBlass's academy consistently, he began commuting to the Renzo Gracie Academy in New York City. There, he sought out special no-gi instruction under the mastermind John Danaher, eventually earning his black belt from DeBlass and Ricardo Almeida in 2013, right around his 22nd birthday. Now, Garry's comfortable, chaotic movement on the mats most likely came from years of gymnastics and high-level scholastic wrestling. He learned super early how to survive and navigate space when the physical world around him was completely out of control. Section 2. Finding mentors and motivation. It's crucial to understand that Garry didn't succeed in a vacuum. His journey was deeply shaped by finding the right role models. He had an obsessive, laser-focused mindset. He turned himself into a sponge, absorbing the daily habits, conditioning routines, and mental framework of high-level coaches like DeBlass, Ricardo Almeida, and John Danaher. Garry took nothing for granted. He was so eager for knowledge that he would spend hours commuting just to get on the mat with the best in the world. Compare that extreme hunger with some modern students today, who sit on the edge of the mats, scrolling on their phones while the coach is talking. Section 3. The Vanguard's impact. That obsessive learning phase led directly to his technical legacy as a founding member of the legendary Danaher Death Squad. Garry's aggressive, non-stop style is what defines his competitive approach. He treats his ADHD not as a deficit, but as a high-speed processing superpower. He is known for throwing on submission after submission, forcing his opponents to defend until the processing power completely overloads. Alongside that aggressive pace, Garry was a primary competitive vanguard for the modern Ashi Garami system. This was the highly systematic approach to leg entanglements and heel hooks engineered by John Danaher that completely revolutionized modern no-gi grappling. Garry took those wild, unpredictable scrambles he loved so much and combined it with Danaher's approach to breaking the lower body. And the results absolutely prove that this style worked at the highest levels. Just look at his competitive resume. He became a staggering 5-time EBI champion across multiple weight classes, took home an ADCC bronze medal, and was a massive standout in premier events like Metamoris and Polaris. This controlled chaos translated to elite, world-class accomplishments. Section 4. The training secret. So how does a guy who takes so many wild risks in competition not just get tapped out consistently? Well, he uses what's been called the tap loudly protocol inside the gym. In John Danaher's class, Garry would willingly let lower belts secure deep, dangerous submissions on him. He treated the gym like a laboratory instead of treating it like it was the finals of the World Championships. Forcing himself into terrible spots against fresh opponents, he learned exactly how much pressure his body could take and exactly what millimeter of space he needed to survive. He completely stripped away the fear of losing in the training room. So what's the actionable blueprint you can take away from Garry's habits? First, focus on learning core concepts, not just isolating moves, so you can adapt them to literally anything. Second, every sparring match is not the World Championships. Tap loudly and tap often in the gym so you can actually experiment. And third, learn to train through general soreness without sitting out. Adjust your intensity, sure, but keep showing up to learn. Section 5, teammates in the trenches. Doing this level of intense training requires a massive amount of trust, which brings us to Garry's views on gym culture. Garry strongly criticizes the modern transactional culture we see a lot now, where people pay their tuition every month and treat the gym like a Burger King, feeling entitled to have it their way. Garry contrasts this with a loyalty culture. When you are simulating violence and giving your training partners limbs that they could easily snap, you need profound bonds of trust. You need to be able to rely on your teammates, especially when training late-stage submission escapes, because they impact your physical safety. And likewise, they need to know that they can trust you too. Even outside the mats, Garry extends this fierce loyalty directly to his core teammates, completely ignoring outside noise. When talking about his highly scrutinized teammate, Gordon Ryan, Garry makes it clear that while he might not agree with everything Gordon does, he always has his teammates' back. It is a relationship built on an absolute mutual support in the trenches. They are functionally intertwined as peers. Garry has actively stepped in to run the curriculum when John Danaher or Gordon Ryan were away, covering for each other's teaching responsibilities to maintain the integrity of the room. So I want to let you know that I had the privilege of meeting Garry Tonon about 3 weeks ago in a tournament in Austin. A lot of times when I meet these famous jiu-jitsu guys, I keep everything very concise because I feel like they're already doing me a favor by letting me take a photo with them, and I don't want to annoy them. But with Garry, he actually just went off. He was talking all about jiu-jitsu, and it felt like he genuinely wanted to talk, which I thought was pretty cool. We were talking about going into offensive cycles where you chain maybe 3 or 4 submissions together. Basically what he said to do was, if you're going against an opponent that is a little bit easier than you, what you should do is, instead of submitting them, allow them to get out of your submission so that you can have an opportunity to follow up with another submission. So in other words, rather than tapping them out, let them out of your submission and see where it goes. And so you're doing this so that you can have an opportunity to follow up with second, third, and maybe even fourth submissions in a sequence. Hopefully that's helpful to you. And if you have any questions about this, in case I didn't really explain it properly, then feel free to ask in the comments. So to pull all of this together, Garry Tonon's true greatness comes from embracing vulnerability. He didn't try to suppress his chaotic energy. He structured it. He mastered chaos by refusing to play it safe in the training room, letting himself be put in grave danger so that when the bright lights were on, he was prepared. Which leaves us with this final thought. Take a hard look at your own journey on the mats. What part of your own training is holding you back from reaching the next level? Are you truly treating the gym like a laboratory? Or are you too afraid to tap to a lower belt? Think about that before your next roll. And if you're interested in watching a highlight video of Garry Tonon, then go ahead and click the video on your right. And if you want to see another video like this, then go ahead and click the video on your left. Thanks. Bye, everyone.